Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again, introducing you to my Uncharted 3 crushing difficulty video walkthrough. This is the 6th level, and this is the Chataeu. And we're once again in lovely luscious jungles with some fantastic lighting, and I don't think I have to tell you that this game is beautiful. This is one of the nicest looking games I've ever played, and the nicest part about it is every time you get used to an environment, you're thrown into something completely different, and everything has an attention of detail to it that you just don't see that often in games. And it's a testament to, if you can learn how to use the PS3 software, you can make a game look consistently fantastic. And it's got to be said, in the cutscenes, the difference between the N64, listen to me go, the difference between the N64 and the PS3 is clearly about several thousand advancements. Now, the difference between the Xbox 360 and the PS3 on cutscenes is staggering. The cutscenes on the Xbox just look blurry, they look dull, the frame rate is terrible, they jerk all over the place, they look nowhere near as good as the cinematics do on the PS3, and that is one area that Sony's just nailed, and nailed really, really well. But we're moving towards aforementioned Chataeu, and this is the section from the E3 demo that they showed of Uncharted 3, if you saw that footage. And it's a really fun level. It's got a couple of challenging moments, but for the most it's just a nice and enjoyable romp. So I'm going to continue talking about the couple of niggles that I have with the game that I mentioned in the last video, now that they're still fresh to my memory. One of them is the confusion over picking things up. That is one of the worst things about any game. Gears of War 3 is horrific for it because they've changed the controls so much it just seems to fuck you all the time. But on this game, Triangle does a lot of stuff. Triangle picks up weapons, it picks up, items that you need, it picks up a lot of things. And there are moments where you try and pick up a weapon and you'll pick up a different weapon, or you'll try and pick up ammo and you'll pick up a different weapon, and it becomes a bit of a juggling match, and it's really annoying. And I wish they didn't have it, but it's something they've chosen to do, and it just doesn't benefit the game in any way for me. It just makes it kind of frustrating. And another one is the roll and the cover being the same button. And I know on Gears of War it's the same, but on Gears of War it's a little bit easier to do. And on this game I find myself sometimes trying to roll and I'll go into cover, or trying to go into cover and I'll roll, and it seems to confuse the two quite a lot for me. And I know these are very small niggles, but they're the ones I do have, and I'm going to be pretty much kissing this game's ass throughout these videos, so I've got to put in a couple of things that bugged me. And the last one is probably the biggest deal breaker in my opinion. All you've got to wait for in this room here, by the way, is if you go over to a bookcase that's just there near that spiral staircase, Sonny's going to help pick it up, and then you can jump on top of it. But he doesn't seem to want to come over very quickly, so I just have a wander around the room and just look at all the beautiful detail and the fantastic textures that this game uses. And then I try and climb on things, and I just have a little bit of fun on my own. But the last thing that I really hate about the game is when you're in cover, if anybody throws a grenade at you or fires a rocket near you, it knocks you out of cover. And it's against all the laws of physics, because Nathan doesn't lay down on the floor or fall down from the impact, he stands up. And unfortunately, on crushing difficulty, if you stand up out of cover for any, more than a second, you're going to die. And there's nothing you can do about it, because you get stuck in a stagger animation and the enemies will shoot you. And if anybody's ever played Mass Effect 2 before, which I hope you all have, there was an enemy on that, the big blue guy, the Husk dude, the Husk tank, I forget his name, but he could do it as well. And if you were playing on Insanity and he knocked you out of cover, it was good night. There was nothing you could do. And this game is the same. And every enemy on this game has the ability to throw an unlimited amount of grenades at you with a ridiculous amount of precision. And it puts you into some really bad spots, and it turns, an easy firefight into a frustrating encounter, and you just need to be made aware of it. But once you're up here, you just come up to the beam, push it across, and then Sonny can go through into the next room. And for the early part of this level, it's just you two traversing, doing puzzles, doing platforming, and then there's a couple of firefights. And believe it or not, some of these early firefights are the hardest ones on the game, because they're not as linear as some of the ones you're going to do later on. And as I've mentioned in a previous video, you're never safe. You're never ever safe when you're in a firefight. The enemies will flank, the enemies will climb, the enemies will do all sorts of things you're not expecting, and you need to really be on your toes. And there is a firefight coming up when you climb out of a well, and it's probably one of the hardest ones on the game because it's massive. There's a bunch of enemies, and it's a big circular environment, and they come from all sorts of angles. There's a lot of them, and you don't have the best guns to kill them unless you put yourself in the danger spots. So it's really challenging actually, and it's refreshing because I did play Uncharted 2, and I prefer this game infinitely more than I do Uncharted 2, and it's not because Uncharted 2 is a bad game. It's just because there were certain firefights on that game that weren't fair. There were a bunch of them that weren't fair, where you took on a bunch of guys, loads of different heavies and shield guys, in areas that didn't have sufficient enough cover, and it got frustrating for me. It got really frustrating. And then they introduced the blue guys, which I hated even more because they were super tough, and they had a crossbow that killed you really quickly. And it became more an effort in patience than anything else, and I can honestly say, aside from a few moments of this game which I believe to be real bullshitty, everything else is very doable. It's very, very standard, very nice. And this section here, I'm only wandering around looking for treasure because you've got to wait for Sonny once again to open the doorway with you. And it's one of those games where sometimes the AI will be really quick to move forward, other times they'll take the time. You can't really control it. It's a lot better than Battlefield 3 where you were constantly waiting for your AI buddy to trip the fucking script in. I hate that. I'm too impatient for that bullshit. But this is another puzzle, and this one is a nice and simple one. And to get this right, you need to look in Drake's journal, and in there it shows you a picture of 4 knights and the weapon that they're holding and a symbol of what they've got to be facing. And the easiest way to explain this is you need to make whatever the knight in the picture's holding face whichever knight has the weapon that's next to him. So on this one it's turning the shield guy to face that one over there, and it's turning, I think, the sword guy to face the shield guy. So there's the axe guy at the shield, the mace guy at the shield, and then the other two at the axe. So you just have to rotate them so that they're facing the weapon that correlates with the picture. And once you turn that one, and then you turn this one, obviously you can do this in any order. You might do it completely differently to me, but the answer's always going to be the same. The fireplace opens, and then we can move on forward, Scooby-Doo style. But there's something about this game. I've played it through 2 times now, and it's a pretty long game. It's not so long when you skip the cutscenes and that, but I would definitely say don't skip the cutscenes because they're super fun. And it's just fun. There's just something about it. I play a lot of games, so I'm a little bit cynical when it comes to enjoying them these days, and I pick fault in a hell of a lot of things, but you can't help but smile in some of these areas. You can't help but smile at some of the stuff, and it's the character touches that they've put into this, the little subtle things that many of the developers don't even think to do, that Naughty Dog is just perfect at. Like when you walk through an environment as Drake and he stumbles, or he turns around to look around himself, just the little subtle things that they've animated, and it gives him much more character than any other person you play as. And they go to a ridiculous length of this detail, from animations to a little bit of voice work. And speaking about the voice work, the voice actors on this game they're just doing it right. I mean, you play enough games, you can spot bad voice acting. You don't even need an ear for it because there's plenty of it in the games industry. But the script, the performances, everything about the Uncharted series it's flawless. It really is. I don't know how they managed to get such good actors consistently, but it's nice that they do, because if the script was nowhere near as tight and if the performances were nowhere near as witty or as effective, it'd be a much lesser game. And I'm glad it's not, because there is not any other game that's like this. This is like watching The Mummy. You feel like Brendan Fraser. You feel like you're travelling the globe. It's not just, going from A to B to C shooting people. It's an adventure. And nothing feels like that anymore. And it's special. And if you've got a PS3, you should play it. You should own it. It's that simple. There's nothing else there worth owning, in my opinion, at this moment in time, because everything else you can get on a different console. And this is only available on Sony's machine, so check it out, because it's unbelievable. It really is. It's a really good game. But this is the section where it's going to lead to the big firefight I mentioned, but that's going to be in the next video, guys. So as always, thanks for watching, and you take care now.